We just closed on a $740,000 property. I'm 20 years old. My business partner is 26. Alongside that, we went from 0 to a 7-figure portfolio within less or around 6 months. And alongside that, we're going right back into acquiring another unit here in California that's right around $300,000. And you're probably wondering, 1, why are you buying back-to-back? 2, how are you buying back-to-back? And 3, how are you financing this whole thing? So the other unit, $740,000, I made a whole case study breakdown in that regard. But the reason why I'm buying this property, right, is because I'm obviously to get more appreciation, get more cash flow, all of the above. That's other things I've broken down in the videos. But in regards to how I'm financing, it's something I want to orchestrate because people are saying, how are you buying under your personal name and you and your business partner if you're orchestrating? He bought under his credit and put me on the deed in that regard. Now, why do we do this? If you look at Fannie Mae regulations, which are the people that give conventional loans, if I hopped on his loan, right, I'm going to be in a position where me and myself will only have access to 9 more conventional loans before I have to put 20% down on every single unit. So you're probably like, okay, well, why don't you just do that? Like, you guys can both be in a position, you qualify for more. If I could qualify, if you qualify by himself and I could just be on the deed, I'm an owner, he's an owner, but he has the debt. So you're probably like, okay, well, why the fuck would Alex want to have the debt and you don't have the debt? Now this goes into the next part. The property we're buying here in California is $300,000, right, in Bakersfield in Kern County. The next one, we're putting it under my credit. So you're probably like, okay, why? The 10 regulation goes over overall. If I was on this, either he was on mine or I was on his, it wouldn't be 10 and 10, it would be 9 and 9, right? Because of that first unit. But since now we're in a position where it's going to go to mine, he has this other 9, and I'll have 10. Now I have this one, now I'll have another 9, right? But I would have been canceled out already at 9 and only had 8 when I bought this next unit because I'm co-signing on the loan. So now we're doing 10% down and buy this property to be cash flowing, hopefully like $200, $300 a month, but it's purely just for the appreciation. But the way that we're financing it is choosing to always put the least amount of money down as possible. Sometimes it may make sense where you actually have to put 10% down, 20% down, all the above, but the goal is to put the least amount of money possible. But it is under our personal names. But we need to split up the debt because if I co-signed, it wouldn't work out. Alongside that, we're buying this under personal names because if we bought it underneath the entity, we would have to put 20% down, and ain't no one trying to do that. Especially when you're buying in California, if we put 20% down on the $740,000 property, you will be in a position where it's $148,000, I believe. Not everybody has $148,000 allocated to one property. I certainly don't. Alex certainly doesn't either. So you have to be very strategic in regards to the finance that you're using. Like I said, he used VA, another one. I'll go on the deed, boom, chilling. I'm using conventional, 10% down on this unit, so it makes sense. In 6 months, 12 months on the VA unit, you refinance, switch to the FHA, use the VA again with your entitlement. It may seem like the information I'm providing is just bombarding in that regard, but you have to understand how far can you actually stretch the money that you have. People think, okay, well, I put 20% down. I bought this unit cash. If you're not buying the unit cash with the intention of refinancing and pulling your money out, you're an idiot. Like, you just quite frankly, idiot. The position that is the most powerful in real estate is the lender. In my opinion, the second most position is the person that is buying the fucking unit, because without the lender, you won't get the unit. Without the buyer, there's no one to buy the fucking unit, right? Because the lender needs their money to make interest. If no one buys the unit, no one make interest. So, with that regard, I'm not just using my own money to buy these units. I use business credit all the time. I'm still actively using it to this day. I just got a credit line for like $40,000 at 0% interest. And you're probably like, okay, well, why don't you just use your own money? If I can be in control of who receives their money at the time that I choose, who's in the most position of power? The person that is in a position where they get their rate payments, they get as low as possible, lending it to me, or me in a position where I'm giving the low amount of possible to them while paying 0% interest, right? In regards to the lending side on the home loan, I'm not paying that. The tenants are paying that, right? Alex isn't paying that, right? But we're in a position where we control how much they receive, right? Yeah, they're making interest. It's a higher rate, whatever, but we're still profitable at even 3, 4, 5%, right? I don't necessarily know the terms, and it's just a matter of the rate lock, but who's in a position of power? The person that has the money, no one to lend it out to, or the person that's buying the money, and I'm in a position where I control that I give it back to, right? I have 0% interest, and this property is going, and we're buying at $300,000, for example, right? $300,000 property, 10% down, $30,000, $15,15. I use business credit. I put it down because it goes off of bank statements. Within a year, or maybe within 6 months, 12 months, say for example, we get to 12% equity. I refinance, the property appraises at say 350, 360. We do work into it, as for appraisal for 410. You refinance. After you refinance, you pay off that card. Would you rather have 15K in your account liquid that you can go and do other plays, Or would you rather have 15K come out of your account and say, oh yeah, why pay 15K? I don't have any credit card, balance on my 0% period, on my 0% card. What sounds good and what it actually is good. Because if I have 12 months, no interest on 15 grand, and I spend that over a pen of a year, that's almost less than $1,200 a month. Or like $1,300 a month that I'm paying if I split it up in 12. You could either do a balloon payment, right after 6 months you refinance and pull that out. You could either allocate in your own money that you already had liquid. You could allocate from the rents. You could allocate from the deposits that you get the deposits that you get once you close on the property. Why the fuck am I going to pay this back as fast as I can? What do I gain? Seeing the number go down? Like, genuinely, what do I gain out of doing that? What I do gain is having this money liquid. This is moving, appreciating, going in value, paying it down, and I can go do something else. That's what allows us to go from $740,000 property, now we're buying $300,000 property. After this one closes, probably buy something else. Because we're using other people's money. Now, how are you going to do this? One, you need to improve your credit profile. If you have low accounts, aka in terms of people that accounts available that are on your credit report, such as credit cards, car loans, all the above, you need to get more, right? There are multiple ways to do this. One, you open new credit cards, which I don't recommend because it's going to shorten when your average age of credit history. If you have 2 cars that are 5 years of age, your average age will be 5 years. If it's 5 years and 2.5, it's going to be right around like maybe 2.5 or to say 3 years, right? And that is a great indicator of getting the most amount of limit. Improve your personal credit. Get the most amount of accounts possible without having a bunch of inquiries. So authorized users, trade lines, and lower your credit card balances below 30%. You're going to want to apply with someone like Chase, American Express. There's other banks like that, like US Bank, to get from $10,000 to $50,000 0% interest. You liquidate that using MF Capital. Those are our partners that help people out. Just because I personally believe that's the best way, unless you want to do the invoicing method, which if you're doing a high amount, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're doing a lower amount, then it's cool. In the same regard of improving the accounts, improving the history is something that is drastically more important. That's why I said do not open brand new credit cards. If you have a car loan that gets straight into it, you can potentially get a personal loan that also report your credit as long as you don't pull from it to show that you're still reliable, that you just have the access to the account. But I wouldn't do that unless you had to do the authorized user route, create your LLC, consulting, marketing, property management, which are low risk businesses, and apply for your business credit with a banking relations manager. This is how I went from 0 to 7-figure portfolio in less than 6 months. Do not be fixated on using your own money. There's no benefit besides maybe saying it verbally that you got to use your own money. That's what I'm going to continue to do. Do not obviously overstretch yourself if you don't have the money at all. Without any sort of income coming in. Maybe you could do it if you don't have money at all, but you have income coming in or whatever. But calculate your numbers correctly. Change your perspective from how fast can I pay this off to how long can I stretch this without paying it off at 0% interest. Or even if I pay interest, how can I get an interest rate where I'm still cash flow positive? I'm still positive on the rate. If, for example, I have this property we're buying, this bank statement, it'd probably be 8% rate, right? Because it's a higher rate because it's a multifamily. If I can make 11% cash on cash return, I'm still positive by 3%. And then when the rates drop, I refinance and now I'm positive by 5%, 6%, 7%. But I got in using someone else's money. Because the money that I used was at 0%. I acquired money from a lender at 8% using the 0%. Now I'm going to make 10, 12, maybe 13% cash on cash return. Refinance, now I'm at 7, 6, 7, or maybe 6, 5. But I'm in, and I could easily refinance, roll the fees into the loan, come out and pay it off. And this is me not speaking from hypotheticals. This is shit that we have done and we are actively doing. But now, 10 on Alex's report, that with me in the deed, 10 on my report, with him on the deed. Now we have access to 20 units with the least amount of money down. We're actively doing, you have to understand the game. You have to pay attention to this shit. And more importantly, you have to take action. If you have any questions about anything that I just said, leave a comment down below or just DM me personally. But I want to look back at this video and know that we went from fucking 7 to 8-figure portfolio as fast as we fucking could with using as many resources as we can. No private investors, just making that shit happen.